good to be back to Augustana. Not quite what I remember of Augustana, though. We played in the old gym. I couldn't find my office in the old gym. It's now a theater. Goodness sakes, how things change. Ryan took me through the new Elmer Center, is that correct? Almond. Almost like my, we'll just call it the Almond. No? Anyway, it was very impressive. I was impressed. Also, I was impressed with the baseball. Borgie's name up there. I recognize Borgie's name. He'll come up in the speech here. But I'm not just here for that. I'm also to tell you how sports got going. Some of the memories I have. And we've been coming up with many more tonight. First of all, way, way back, when I was a youngster, you know, had to walk uphill both ways to school. You've heard that. But we didn't have basketball in my elementary. 7th and 8th grade, I played varsity. The last game of the season, I broke my arm. Somebody tripped me. Played the second half with a broken arm. But by Monday, when the district's tournament started, I couldn't lift a fork to feed myself. The next year, they dropped sports for women. So much for my high school career. College brought more sports for me, though, on a club basis. We started with basketball as a freshman. Then we added volleyball and softball. But under a work-study program, I coached and played both of them. So I never had a coach. At my first high school, they didn't have women's sports or girls' sports. But I got a few girls together. We played some basketball together. We finally thought we had a team. We could go to another town and play. I ordered a bus to get there. Guess I was supposed to ask before. They didn't like that very well. But undeterred, I asked to be paid for coaching. Didn't get that either. When I came to Augustana, they were still beginning in sports. Eventually, we had a group of women coaches in the regional and state level who got together to try to form the rules for women's sports. We were called the Association of Intercollegiate Athletics for Women. And that was the beginning of tournaments for women's sports in the state and in the region. But there was a lot of work, and it was all volunteer work that we did. And finally, these women could see that the best thing for the students, swallowing our pride, the best thing for the athletes was to join the men's. And that took a lot to decide to go with the Men's Association. But after they did, then it allowed people like Olympia and people like you to have sports. To her, go on and have a beyond college, professional women's sport. Amazing from where we started. There are memories that I have. I'm just going to mention a few. The outstanding athletes that we had. A group of girls that just full of memories. Borgie's bus. So many memories from that time spent traveling in the bus. One trip, someone had loosened the lug nuts on one of the tires. Not a player, just someone. We didn't have a wrench to tighten it, of course. So we hobbled to a garage for help. Another time we were in the bus at a tournament somewhere. We left, went to the tournament from the motel. We got there and decided, we left somebody back at the motel. Didn't have time to get her. She had to make her own way. She did. I remember driving the bus 35 miles an hour to Aberdeen because of bus trouble, arriving just in time. I remember the bus getting stuck in 2 foot of snow at Spearfish, but the girls pushed us out. We went on our way and had a beautiful day driving down the Spearfish Canyon Road, stopping to make snow angels along the way. Then there was Borgie's cars. We had blowouts, had to change the tire. Got back and Borgie was mad at me because I didn't put the jack in the right place and I had a dent in the car. We had cars stall on the highway. We set the starters in one of the cars. The rest of us got a ride with somebody else. We got there just in time again. I remember trying to open my office door after the players pennied it. I remember house measles. Ask about that one. I remember coming back after being gone a few days, and the girls had filled my office with newspaper. But the best memories of the basketball team, it was so good together. Ione would get the rebounds, throw it out to Murph, who threw it down the floor. Not to anyone particular. But they knew one of our players would be there to catch up to that ball and go in for a layup almost every time. They won the state tournament, and that's a special feeling. I was glad that they were able to know that feeling. Everyone should have it happen. And I'm glad that each of you has that chance to be on a championship team. But there has been changes. I don't know how the volleyball team can play in such short shorts. Or the basketball team can play in such long shorts. We had the same shorts for both of them. For basketball, we got long socks, so maybe there was a cost factor there. Softball played with steel plates. Now you go with that sissy stuff, like plastic and rubber. We traveled in Borgie's bus, and we had to drive it ourselves. Today you have coaches, assistant coaches, graduate coaches. Every sport has its coaches and its trainers. I coached all the sports. And the person who got things ready to travel, taped the players, got everything ready to practice for the game, kept stats, cleaned up after the game, got ready to travel home, helped drive Borgie's bus, was the student manager. A non-paid person who loved being around the team as much as I did. The game has changed throughout the years with more knowledgeable coaches and players that have played since early elementary. Are the players better today? Yeah, I like to think that my players were superior. But I do know you should thank those players who put in their time for the fun and love of the sport. They led the way for your being able to play today. For you student athletes, the friendships you make with teammates will last forever. The sports put you in the situation to have those close friendships. Enjoy every time you get together on and off the floor. Now, I don't know how your team leaves the huddle to get onto the court or the field. Go team. Go fight win. Go Augie. I'll leave you with what he said in our huddle, in our toughest voices. Mawali Kaliki Maha! Right? Anybody know what that means? Merry Christmas! Thank you.
Another bottle of wine for me. Right? A couple of things. Coach Kraus, did you get that play?
Yes.
Rebound, throw it to someone. Okay, got that one. Again, we want to invite questions. I have one question. You briefly talked, a lot about Brody's car and everything. You talked about the car jack. You said a dent, but you briefly went over. You didn't say how the dent.
Well, I put the jack in the wrong place. I put it on the side of the car where we always put it when I was a youngster. But now they have a little hole in the back where you're supposed to jack it up with.
How did you dent the car?
Well, when I put it on the side, then when I came up, it pushed in.
Were you driving a chain? Those are some great stories. And I see these guys at the table smirking, and I can just see the memories. But to be honest with you, I was sitting here, and when you talked about the coach that was the student manager and the floor sweeper and set the chairs out and probably washed the clothes and drove the bus and did everything, I kind of was overcome a little bit, because without these guys, I wouldn't be where I am. None of us would be, the younger student athletes wouldn't be here without you, Bonnie, or without them. And I was a little overcome, so thank you. I want to say thank you before I open up to questions, because I was a little overcome. Maybe it's a bottle of wine, I don't know, but thank you, okay? Thank you. So I just wanted to get that out. But hey, questions, because I know you have questions from her, for her.
We just felt like we were having fun out there. That's all. We didn't think we were going anywhere particular. We were just having fun. Line didn't mean much to us either. Oh, do I need that? Can everybody hear me? Yeah. If I yell, I'm in trouble.
They can probably hear you.
Can you hear me out there?
Answer the question. Were you a pioneer?
Pioneer? I probably was, in this fact that I wasn't afraid to do things. I did things without asking, because I always thought it was easier to get forgiveness than it was to not do it. Like my first teaching job, get a bus. I had a track meet. I set up my own track and stuff out in front. We set up our own softball. We practiced softball in the area in the middle of the campus.
Quad campus, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we practiced. So I guess we were pioneers because we had to make our own field. But no, I don't think I was a pioneer. I really had no coaching background, so I don't know. We loved it.
More questions.
What did you do when you left Augie?
After I left Augie, I stayed home with my kids while they were little. And then I went into teaching math at a small high school in southern North Dakota.
There's a southern part of North Dakota?
The southern part of North Dakota. Not the northern part of South Dakota. Although we played there. Anyway, I started again as pioneer. They had never played volleyball, so we started a volleyball team. and I coached volleyball and basketball at that school for women. They didn't know that you played with 6 players on a team for volleyball. So it was a challenge that first year. They didn't know what a setter was or a middle spiker. But again, it was nice because the parents didn't know either. If you ever get out into high school to coaching, you'll know that you don't want those parents knowing too much. That's true. Okay.
Recruiting athletes for the
Didn't have to. We didn't recruit. We didn't have scholarships.
How'd you form it?
They walked on. They came
the dorms. You walked to the dorms on a Saturday night and saw who was sitting around, or what?
No, they walked on. I don't know. How do you guys know to come to the gym? We heard you could play basketball. Okay, they heard that they could play basketball. They came over to the gym. We played basketball. We didn't recruit. We couldn't give scholarships, so we didn't need to recruit anybody. We took whoever was there, and that's who we had to play with. The championship game that we won, our tallest girl was 5'8". They had 2 6'1" players, and our girls beat them. So, just with what they wanted to do, they wanted to win that game. So.
We got $500 per sport. Our senior year, we got $500.
Oh yeah, your senior year. But before that, they didn't.
You bet.
Nobody had freshman scholarships. You only got them from sophomore on.
No freshman scholarships. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that there was no scholarship, no recruiting. But it was nice. I didn't, when I was coaching 3 sports. I ended a sport on Friday. I started a new one on Monday. And that's not kidding. I did. By the end of the year, I was, what do I do with my time? So, okay. Anybody else? Anybody want to join us? No?
Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you.